Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. You've been promised that mass deportation will lower housing prices, but research shows every wave of deportations raises home prices by 4 to 5%. How does a policy meant to help make everything worse? Let me explain. The logic seems simple. Deport millions of illegal immigrants, homes and apartments will free up. Less demand, lower prices. Americans will be able to afford housing. This is one of the main promises of the Trump administration's immigration policy. Vice President Vance calls the idea that immigrants are needed to build homes deranged. Americans will build everything themselves, he says, just for fair wages. But economics is stubborn. It doesn't obey slogans. America has a housing deficit, between 2 and 4.7 million homes, depending on the methodology. According to Zillow, the deficit reached a record 4.7 million units in 2025, and it's growing every year. To solve the housing affordability crisis, you need to build. A lot. Fast. More than we're building now. So who builds homes in America? This is where it gets interesting. According to the National Association of Home Builders, immigrants make up about 30% of the entire construction workforce. In Texas and California, over 40%, but that's the average. Let's look at specific trades. Plasterers and stucco masons, 64% immigrants. Drywall and ceiling tile installers, 61%. Roofers, 52%. Painters, 51%. Floor and tile installers, 45%. And here's the key point. By various estimates, 1/3 to half of these immigrants are undocumented, meaning exactly the people targeted for deportation. Drywall installers, 36 to 38% undocumented immigrants. Roofers, 30 to 36%. Painters, 29-31%. Construction laborers, 23%. These aren't abstract numbers. These are people who are right now building a house that someone will move into in 6 months. About 1.6 million undocumented immigrants work in the U.S. construction industry. That's more than any other sector, even agriculture. Now imagine, they all get deported. What happens to your new home? In 2024, economists from the University of Utah, University of Massachusetts, and Wisconsin School of Business conducted a massive study. They examined the Secure Communities program, enhanced immigration enforcement that started under Bush and expanded under Obama. From 2008 to 2013, the program covered every U.S. county. But it was implemented gradually, in different counties at different times. This allowed researchers to precisely measure cause and effect. The results? Shocking. After implementing enhanced immigration enforcement, each county on average missed out on roughly a year's worth of construction over the 4-year period. New home construction dropped by 5.7%. New home prices rose by 4.4%. The construction workforce declined by 2 to 3%. And here's what's important. When an undocumented worker is deported, an American doesn't take their place. The study showed, out of 2 vacated positions, an American fills only 1. The other stays empty. Moreover, undocumented workers and American workers aren't competitors. They complement each other. Undocumented immigrants more often work in lower-skilled, physically demanding jobs. House framing, drywall, roofing. Americans more often fill higher-skilled positions. Electricians, plumbers. But here's the problem. Until the frame and roof are finished, the electrician and plumber can't start work. The construction site stalls. Everyone waits. Deportations create bottlenecks. Projects slow down. And even highly skilled American workers lose jobs because there are no projects to work on. This isn't theory. This is happening right now. In December 2025, the Texas Tribune published an investigation about the situation in South Texas. After ICE raids, the region's construction industry is in crisis. Juan Guerrero, a representative of the local Builders Association, made a public statement. Construction can't continue. Our people are hurting. Our businesses are hurting. There's no labor. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, construction jobs in the region dropped by 5% in the third quarter of 2025. That is the largest drop in a long time. Since Trump took office, more than 9,100 people have been arrested in South Texas. Nearly 1/5 of all such arrests in the entire state. And what's happening with prices? They're rising. Fewer workers, less building. Less building, less supply. Less supply, higher prices. And this is just the beginning. According to the American Immigration Council, in the 10 states with the highest concentration of undocumented immigrants in construction, industry employment fell by 0.1%, while in other states it rose by 1.9%. California lost 3.1% of its workforce from May to June 2025 after raids in Southern California. And it's not just about those being deported, it's about fear. People are afraid to go to work, afraid they'll be arrested at the job site, afraid for their families, the chilling effect. Even legal immigrants are starting to leave the industry, afraid of being mistaken for undocumented or exposing people they know. Well, Americans will build the homes themselves just for fair wages, says J.D. Vance. Let's test this idea. According to builder associations, in July 2024, the industry had 248,000 unfilled job openings. By 2025, the industry needs 454,000 new workers, on top of normal hiring. This is a crisis that's existed for decades. The shortage of construction workers isn't news. It started in the mid-2000s and sharply worsened after the 2008 crisis. Why don't Americans go into construction? First, the work is hard and dangerous. Construction is one of the deadliest industries. In 2020, 21% of all workplace fatalities were in construction. Second, wages are already decent. Median weekly wage for an American construction worker, $31. For an immigrant, $786. But even for $1,000 a week, there's no line of people wanting to lay roofing in August heat. Third, demographics. The workforce is aging. Young people go into IT, not construction. Vocational programs in schools have been cut. Fourth, training takes years. An apprenticeship program, 5 years. That's longer than a bachelor's degree. Even if thousands of Americans decided to become construction workers tomorrow, it would take 3 to 5 years before they could work at full capacity. But homes are needed today. Let's sum up the economics. Housing deficit, 4.7 million homes, an all-time record. Worker deficit, 454,000 people needed in 2025 alone. Immigrants in construction, 30% of the entire workforce. Undocumented immigrants, about 1.6 million people in the industry. And now, deportation, mass deportation, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people. What will happen? There will be fewer workers, construction will slow down, there will be fewer new homes, the deficit will grow, prices will rise. Meanwhile, the homes where the deported lived won't make a difference. According to the Urban Institute, the number of households in the U.S. grew by 13% from 2010 to 2023, while housing units grew by only 10%. The gap already exists, and it's growing. Deportation simultaneously slightly reduces demand, people leave, significantly reduces supply, no one to build. Which effect wins? Research shows supply. Prices will rise. This is called shooting yourself in the foot, only at the scale of the entire economy. The Urban Institute analyzed which states are most vulnerable. Florida and Nevada in the high-risk zone, high share of immigrants in construction, significant housing deficit, strong dependence on new construction. Texas and California, 40% of construction workers are immigrants. Mass deportations will paralyze the industry. Arizona, Nevada, Maine, Florida are furthest behind in construction and will face major challenges if labor shortages intensify. And who will suffer as buyers? Young families who want to buy their first home, the middle class already barely managing their mortgage, renters who can't find affordable housing. 8.1 million families are already doubled up, sharing a home with people who aren't relatives because they can't afford separate housing. For them, every percentage point of price increase means another year without their own home. And the irony is that these are the same people who were promised that deportation would help. What if instead of deportation, they proposed a solution? Legalization for workers already here. Expansion of work visas for construction, training programs, incentives for affordable housing construction. According to the National Immigration Forum, immigrants pay about $96.7 billion in taxes per year, federal, state, and local. The construction industry says it plainly, without immigrants, they can't manage. Builder associations aren't liberal activists. This is business that wants to build homes and make money. And they're saying deportation is a catastrophe for the industry. The cost of mass deportation is estimated at $88 billion per year. For that money, you could build 2.9 million new homes. What will solve the housing crisis better, deporting builders or building homes? Let's sum up. You're promised. Deportation will lower housing prices. Research shows deportation raises prices by 4 to 5%. You're told Americans will take the jobs. Data shows half the positions stay empty, projects stop. You're told immigrants take housing away. Facts show they build housing, and without them, there's no one to build. Housing deficit, 4.7 million homes. Worker deficit, almost 500,000. Immigrants in construction, 1.6 million. Deport the builders, and the crisis gets worse. Not better, worse. This isn't a matter of ideology, it's a matter of math. Someone has to frame a house before an electrician can wire it. Someone has to put on a roof before a family can move in. And right now, that someone is a person being prepared for deportation. And then they wonder why housing is so expensive.